Greetings, members, one and all of the Salivation Nation. Gold outperformed silver today, and here's why. Let's explore. Yes, indeed, in an unusual twist, although these days unusual is fairly common. Gold has outperformed silver today, but all the metals are up. Gold, silver, platinum, and palladium. As of the recording of this video, the only metal that's down is rhodium. I'm referencing a few articles here about this story, but I think we can pretty much guess, this is based off of what's been happening in the world here as of recent days. A lot of it has to do with the weakening dollar. In fact, this is one viewpoint from Capital.com. Earlier today when platinum and palladium fell, but of course that's old news now, and that just goes to show you how volatile these markets are. Precious metals were fairly mixed on Wednesday morning, with gold and silver up following a recent weakness in the US dollar. However, rising US Treasury yields put caps on gains somewhat. Now that's talking about yesterday, but today we're seeing what's happening to increase geopolitical tensions between US and China was why palladium and platinum were down. But that was yesterday, just hours ago yesterday, I guess. Investors also look forward to the U.S. Services PMI due to be released later in the day. And we also have, of course, the unemployment report is going to be coming tomorrow. But, what happens is the dollar, it really does have an effect here with the price of gold and silver. U.S. 10-year Treasury yields traded flat at 2.7%, but has since fallen about 70 basis points. But again, looking kind of where this is, where these things are going, and there's some of the other reasons why the metals move. And there's a lot of reasons why they can move along with the dollar index, but it seems the dollar index is the largest driver of the prices. But Newmont Corporation has recently announced senior leadership positions. That's what's happening in the world of gold. That alone, really, it's not going to move the needle a whole lot. But there's other things that we can kind of look into and see what's happening. With the silver, the dollar index dropping U.S. dollar, and increased China-U.S. geopolitical tensions. And that is really coming to a greater concern these days. So that's where it gets to. We're going to talk about this, where what's happening with the metals today, and why specifically is silver not rising as fast as gold. Because typically what happens is when the markets move in a positive direction, silver tends to outperform gold. Not today. Gold extended gains as geopolitical tensions between the U.S. and China intensified, boosting haven demand. And so right now, palladium and platinum are up because of kind of the same reason as it appears. But bullion is hovering near a 4-week high as the fallout from U.S. House Speaker Nancy Pelosi's visit to Taiwan keeps markets on the edge. While anxiety eased somewhat after the trip ended, China has since started military drills in areas surrounding the island. Gold rose even after Federal Reserve officials pledged the central bank would continue an aggressive fight to cool soaring inflation. The Bloomberg Dollar Spot Index extended a dip in the red after slipping earlier on Thursday. China fired 11 Dongfeng ballistic missiles into waters surrounding Taiwan in the biggest test in decades. And here we can see the Bloomberg Spot Dollar Index, which is different than the DXY. And then you have spot gold and kind of where it is at, has been through over the past months here in 2022. And so gold is seeing a strong recovery here so far. Towards the end of July and into August, we're seeing it go up. And so yes, indeed. So typically when the dollar is higher, the metals are down. We can kind of see how this is kind of playing out between the two. The dollar just kind of keeps strengthening. Gold is pushing higher again this morning as yields ease off this week's highs and the dollar softens. Craig Earlman, a senior analyst at Owanda Corporation, said in a note, recession fears may also support bullion as they could trigger safe haven flows, suggesting a push towards $1,800 is possible. In fact, it did get there earlier today, and that's just it. People run to the safety of gold whenever there's concerns. And initially, that's where they want to go even before silver. Silver tends to follow gold, but that's just it. It follows, and it's following, not necessarily at the same rate at this point, at the beginning of this little, if this is the beginning of a bull run, that is, because it's only up over half a percentage point. Gold is outperformed silver 3 times over, almost 3 times over here with a 1.48% increase. Again, it did touch $1,800 earlier today, and I think that's what's happening, specifically to China and the East in general. Those tensions, you probably are seeing more demand, and a lot of that market is being driven by the Asian stock exchanges and the movements of the precious metal there, because that's where the tensions are. And you know how gold is treated in the East compared to the West. So that is probably what is boosting gold more so than silver for this very reason. Investor sentiment towards bullion may be turning after a sell-off in July, according to Rona McConnell, an analyst at StoneX. Still, recent price moves aren't much more than a correction from the recent falls. The technical parameters are all much more positive than hitherto, and this will be helping, O'Connell said in the interview. ETFs are seeing some light buying, which may also influence sentiment. Spot gold climbed 1.4%, actually a little higher than that, and its highest intraday level since July 5th, although, again, it did reach 1,800 briefly. Contracts were up 1.7% on the COMEX, although all other precious metals advanced, with platinum leading with a 3.3% increase. In fact, we look here, we can see it is now up $31. So I think the concerns are, especially there, with the proximity to Siberia, Russia, and obviously, and what's going on. The tensions are still very high there with Russia and Ukraine, and the war ongoing, and affecting also potentially 2 Nordic nations potentially moving into NATO. It's having an effect there as well. So a lot of different factors can come into play. But this is kind of, it can be both exciting and encouraging. But if you're a buyer, it's a little bit of disappointment, but not a discouragement, that's for sure. That's the one thing that we find as buyers of these metals is it can be discouraging if you've made purchases and the price goes down. But if you are in a buying mode, it's an opportunity. But it's always encouraging to see the prices go up, no matter what, whether you're in buying mode or not, because it kind of validates our position that the precious metals has value that the price is starting to recognize. And many people feel that silver and to some extent even gold is undervalued. So there you have it. Very interesting times indeed. All the metals are up, save for rhodium. It'll be fascinating to see kind of where things go from here. There's a lot of factors that many of us feel should get these metals pushing higher and higher, especially with inflation now going away. My guess is probably the jobs numbers that will be coming out will bode fairly well, but I don't think it's going to have much effect on the prices, because it's only a matter of time before inflation really starts to clamp down on some of these businesses where they won't be able to afford to hire some employees, or if they pull wages back or what have you. So there's a lot of things to consider here, but there's where the markets are today, and that is why gold and silver are up, mainly gold, because I believe it's because of the sentiment and the fear of the tensions happening with Taiwan and China, and all those nations surrounding it are wanting to, including the Chinese people themselves, are probably betting on gold at this point. So there you have it. If you enjoy videos like this where we talk about the news with how it relates to precious metals and the prices and why they move one way or the other, everybody can speculate, but in the end, really it matters the most is that you are accumulating wealth outside of the financial system. And really think about that instead of price, is if you hold it outside the financial system, the dollar and everything like that, you're holding something of value that has lasted for thousands of years. The day-to-day price movement matters, but only matters if you're buying or selling. And the best thing to do is to mitigate any losses by buying in a smart way. So I hope you found this video insightful. I'd like to extend a multitude of gratitude to you all for taking the time to watch and encourage you to rate this video. That means thumb it up. Yes, indeed. Press that like button. Share it as well with others in the community. It would be very helpful on different social media platforms. Comment and subscribe.